Hello and welcome to this week's episode of 3 Keys of My Success. Today I get to speak to another amazing doctor, and here's who he is.
Hi, my name is Dr. Matt Griswold, and I practice in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a chiropractor with 3 practices. We practice chiropractic. We do some personal training and some Pilates, a lot into functional medicine. We are all over the board and had some success with that. So I look forward to connecting with you and talking about those 3 keys to success.
Hello and welcome to Secrets of My Success, part of For the Love of Chiropractic podcast series. On each episode, I'll be interviewing one highly successful doctor or business person, asking them what are their 3 keys of success or secrets they've used to make themselves so highly successful. So let's get started with today's show. So I have on the phone with me today my friend Dr. Matt Griswold. Matt, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
I am so glad you're there and able to join us today, especially after the story that you shared with me about surviving a tornado. Was that just yesterday?
Yeah, so it was actually 2 days ago. I live in Oklahoma, which would be in Tornado Alley, and all the time I've been in Oklahoma, never seen one, but there was one that came through, and I happened to be in the car. I'm still here to talk about it.
Yeah, and the fact that the rain changed from hitting you in the windshield to coming in your side window, you knew that you had to move and get out of there.
That's a bad sign. If you're hearing this and you're out in the middle of the country and the rain stops from coming straight down to coming sideways, be concerned.
All right, so let's get down to business, and I'm glad you're here. So now, how many years have you been a chiropractor?
I've been in practice for 13 years.
And what school did you go to?
I graduated at Life University in Atlanta.
Awesome. All right. So let's back up, 13 plus years. How did you become a chiropractor?
So you know what? My mom had 2 back surgeries. Loved her chiropractor to death, but he lightly loved her back. So he didn't tell her what she needed to do. He didn't explain to her what the value of chiropractic was. And so she had 2 failed back surgeries. That led to a lifetime of some medicine and some things that honestly just wasn't what I wanted for my life. And so what we've dedicated our lives to, at least at my office and with my family, is to making sure that scenario never happens again for other people. Wow.
So, and that's awesome. And I'm so thankful that that's what you've dedicated your life to. And obviously I'm sorry that your mom is she's dealing with. So you finished at Life, and then did you associate or you opened right up?
Yeah, so interesting enough, my wife is from a family of chiropractors. Her grandfather was a chiropractor who had 2 uncles that became chiropractors, and then her dad. So there's like 9 in that side of the family.
Wow.
And so I got out. It was an obvious choice to go work with the father-in-law.
Sure.
And, as chiropractors often do, disagree about technique. And so I didn't make it a whole year there, and I opened up my own 12 years ago, and it's called 918 Chiropractic, and we've opened up 3 locations, and it has treated me very well.
So clearly your technique works really well for you.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's part of it, right? Like everybody has a different thing, and everybody has a different thing for different people. And once you understand what your thing is, then you need to find your audience and your people, and then you can build a successful practice around that.
Amen. So you said you have 3 locations now. So tell me what makes your clinic systems unique.
So what we do is corrective care chiropractic. And I know a lot of folks say that they do corrective care. I love a before x-ray. I like an after x-ray. And I like to have measurements that show that we have changes. If I can get those, then I know that clinically I'm going to be able to produce a different result. The spine is going to change. And because I believe in what the body's going to do, it's going to react the way that it's supposed to and decrease the symptomatology. So that's how we've been successful, is there's no guessing. I think to see is to know. Everything else is a guess. So we x-ray everybody, we take pictures, we take measurements, and then from there we put together a plan of attack. And then from there, after we're done with the plan of attack, we take a picture to prove that we did what we said we would do.
That is fabulous. Now, I got to ask this question for the benefit of the listening audience. So doing corrective care the way that you do it, with a pre and post x-ray, In round numbers, and I know that it's different case to case, but in round numbers, how many visits does it take to really correct a spine?
Okay, so that's a great question. If we're going to go for full correction, it takes me usually 6 to 12 weeks, depending. I like 12 weeks mostly. Most of my care plans tend to be around 2 months, and I can see changes. Now, I won't have perfect correction, but I can see changes moving into the positive vector, and at least symptomatology is taken care of. From there, we move them into wellness care, or what we would call lifetime chiropractic. And then we're still working on curves. We're still working on correction, but their symptomatology is dissipated.
Right. So how many how many adjustments does it take to correct the spine? I'm not talking about symptoms. I'm talking about relief, correction, and strengthening.
I need 25 to 50 plus to be able to have a perfect correction on the spine.
Exactly. And that is what I have said on this podcast for over a year now. It's 40 visits. Cool. It's 40 visits plus or minus 10. And anybody who says they're correcting the spine in 4 weeks is just lying.
No, can't. Physiology. I often say this in the office. We've been around as humans, believe it or not. Let's just go since Christ, a couple thousand years, right? Mm-hmm. All technology has changed, but the human body still heals the same.
Yep, exactly. All right, so that's fantastic, and thank you for sharing that. I love hearing more doctors, more and more successful doctors saying the same thing that I've been saying, preaching, and teaching, for so many years. But now let's get back to you. So I love your office, I love your mission, and I really want to focus in on what are your 3 keys of success. Again, you're in a multi-generational chiropractic family situation, opened your own office, 3 of them now that are all super successful. What are you going to say are your 3 keys of success? And let's discuss those one at a time.
I think that, so like when you have 3 locations, you see 3 different practitioners or 5 different practitioners, depending on how many people you put in it, as to what theirs are and what they do. And for me, it's all different, right? So keys to success for me would be the doctor has to take care of the doctor first. And what I mean by that is if my head space is incorrect, if my heart space is incorrect, my family space is incorrect, showing up to the office, I don't get the opportunity or luxury to fake it because I put my hands on people every day. And so for me, I hold those values very highly. I need to check my family. I need to check my heart. I need to check my own personal space before I show up to the office. Unfortunately, in our profession, or at least in chiropractic, that's a very valuable thing. Who the doctor shows up as in the office is he's the healer at that point. He's a facilitator of healing. And so my first check-in in the morning is a meditation and prayer. I journal quite a bit. And mostly I put in the journal, and I'm sorry if this is inappropriate because you can bleep me, but it's my bitch journal. I write stuff down that I just don't want to deal with, and I leave it there.
You are not the first doctor to use language that I have to say, well, this has a little bit of explicit language in it, but it's all good.
I think it's important, right? I think that if you can maintain yourself as you show up to help the other people, you're the conduit, and you have to be a conduit. If you have blockages within yourself, it's really hard to let the healing flow through you.
Absolutely. So meditation and journaling. Do you have any other secrets that you want to share? No, I don't want to go to number 2 yet. I want to stick with this number 1 for just another minute or 2. Other than the meditation and the journaling, are there other things that you do to make sure that your head and your heart are in the right place every day when you hit that door?
Yeah. So when I get to the office, so you show up to the office, you do your thing. Maybe you need another shot of espresso. Caffeine works. That may be a tip to success. I have no idea. But the truth being said is I look at my hands and I say a small prayer quite often. And I said, Lord, let these be a vessel to you. Let them serve the people as you see fit. Because at the end of the day, it's not me showing up for those people. I'm a conduit to what they need, and I just push on the bones, and they magically heal because of the power that's within the body, because of the power that's within them. And I that's an often prayer. It's a prayer I teach my associates. It's not us, the docs, man. It's like, let me be a conduit.
I love that. That is absolutely beautiful and just poetic. So if taking care of the doctor and making sure that your head and your heart are correct, what's number 2?
your body. You have to, right? We chose a profession that most often dictates that we bend, that we kneel, that we have strong muscles so that we can move large patients, that we are able to make a crisp adjustment. And even if it's not physical, like you don't manually adjust, even if you're using an instrument, you're standing and walking. On my Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do roughly a half a marathon, and I don't go anywhere. I stay at the office all day, right? So that's 13 miles, and I don't go anywhere. And so, like, if your body is not able to serve the people, you're not ready to show up for the day. And I think that's a key. I think people forget that. And it doesn't matter what profession you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in chiropractic, if you're in healthcare, medical, if you're in legal. Your body dictates how your brain is going to function. And if it's working correctly and it's optimized, you're going to work more correctly. So the body has to be at least number two.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, anybody who's ever had, I mean, even a paper cut, try and pay attention to anything else. You know, when that pain is talking to you, you can't. So to make sure your body is really functioning properly so that you can then turn yourself to the job that needs to be done is just so important. You are absolutely correct. So, and I love both of those. So what's number three?
Your definition of happiness, understanding what your definition of happiness is. And I can tell you that since you and I had a conversation about booking this podcast and some things that have happened in my life that we don't need to go into, but I will tell you this, that's what I think number three is like, how do you define success? Do you define it by a couple $1,000,000 a year? Do you define it by spending more time with your family, more freedom for decisions? But if you have no idea how to define your happiness, the work and the labor is futile. And I hate to say that I've done it the other way. Like, I've done the bunch of money stuff and I've done the family stuff. I got to tell you which one that means more to me right now for sure. And so I think that the number three is defining what happiness is for you. That's a key to success, because then you work towards something that you know will make you happy. And I hope that resonates with you, but I thought about that a little bit earlier, and I just thought, man, if I could just say something to somebody, it's like, what makes you happy? What is it? Because is it money? Is it family? Figure it out and run as fast as you can towards it.
So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, because I'm going to ask you a similar question towards the very end of this interview. But since you brought it up at this point, with what you have been through, and I'm not asking you to share anything that you don't feel comfortable doing that with, how do you define happiness?
So where that comes from is that I have the three practices, and I've given myself to the three practices. I also have 4 children, and I've given myself to the 4 kids. But when push comes to shove, the 3 practices, they're sellable, they're maneuverable, they're assets, and they're great. Those kids, I only have a certain amount of time to spend with them. And so how I define happiness is being able to take my kids to do the things that I never got to do as a child, to be able to afford to do the things that allow me to give them experiences, and then to be there with them and for them. All of that takes money, of course, especially when you have 4. but to be at its essence, like, understanding that you can strive towards opening multiple offices and doing all these things in your career, but it has to be equally as hard working towards your family, because what's one without the other? And I think that I got a little out of balance previously. But recently I've tipped the scales to the other direction, and man, it's easier to wake up. You're more excited to get up and go when you know what your purpose is. I
love that. Now, based on everything that we've talked about so far, and we still have plenty of time to talk, which makes me very happy, it sounds to me that you have created actually an imbalance in your life that you're going to have to correct at some point. You have any idea what I'm talking about?
100%. I do. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the imbalance that I'm talking about is you have 4 wonderful children. You come from a chiropractic family, and you have only 3 practices.
That's exactly I thought that might be based on what I know about you and your history. I thought you might be thinking the same thing. And as a chiropractor, you're always looking for the one that wants to hug longer, the kid that's trying to rub on somebody and just love on them. You're like, oh, that's my chiropractor, right? Like, especially with four, like one of you is going to be one. Just which one is it going to be? Or all of you.
Right? Could be more than one. So, and as I've said on previous episodes, I have one in chiropractic school. She graduates later this year, and the other one's in healthcare also, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
I love it.
All right, so I love all of those things, and man, I love the way you've really looked at and balancing your life. So, and I didn't ask this before, and I never ask this of anybody that I get to speak with, but I have to. Based on the transition that you're talking about that you've seen in your life, Matt, how old are you?
41.
Yeah, so Ray, you're at the perfect age of it to be seeing it all. I personally believe that when you have that 40th birthday, that you have climbed to the top of the mountain, and I'm not saying it's downhill from there because there's a beautiful plateau up there, and you get to enjoy the altitude and the sights, potentially for decades. But in your 20s, you're growing up and you're getting your education and you're figuring out, you're getting your career, right? You're getting your profession, and in your 30s, you're building it.
100%.
You roll up your sleeves and you dig in. And when you hit 40, for a lot of docs who have become successful earlier in their lives, 40 is where like, oh man, you know what? I've hit it. And being north of that myself now, I can tell you, 50 is still awesome and 60 is still awesome. Yeah, but you know what? 50 and 60 just can't do physically what 40 did. So, man, you are right there, and I respect and admire the balance that you have created at such a young age. That is fantastic.
I think that life experience dictates if you're paying attention to your life experience, you should learn from them, right? They should be lessons that you are able to pick up. And I've seen some of the things, and I'll be transparent. I've also put myself in association with several people that were worth billions of dollars, billions, and no family, nobody to share it with at dinner. And it's like, I don't want to do that. That's for sure. You know what I mean? And so, I think that my life it's just made a small trajectory. Doesn't mean it has to take a 180, but I tell you what, the dividends that you get from investing in your children are greater than the dividends that you get from investing in your stock portfolio.
Amen. And clearly God is smiling on you. All right. So time is getting away from us. So I'm going to pivot and ask a different question here. So based on everything that you have seen and experienced and just valued and looked at over the years, my question is, so here it is 2025. Is it possible for a doc who's getting right out of school today, or someone who's in practice but hasn't found success yet, is it still possible in today's world to become hugely successful?
I think I think that's a no-brainer question, because I think that we all know that it's very possible, right? But you have to decide. The listener, the person, whomever it may be, has to decide that it's possible, and then they also have to look at their trajectory and say, "I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get to that place," because it's not given. You didn't ask me that. Is it free? No. Is it easy? No. You said, is it possible? And so possibility, yes, but possibility without the person looking themselves in the mirror and say, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get to the place that I want to be. That has to be the decision that's made. And I think that's the trajectory. I had 2 interns. I'm the only guy in the state of Oklahoma that's allowed to have interns to bring in the students to pour into. And I had my last exiting interview today with both of them. And I said, whatever you decide to do it from your heart and do it from your authentic self, and you'll be successful. Now, you can do that at mass, and you can do that and make a ton of money and do that, or you can do that at small and be happy and serve yourself and serve a few people. But the possibility of success is up to you, and how do you define it?
So speaking of which, I have to ask, when it comes to business success, how do you define that?
I think that when I define business success, and like, the old adage, the chiro office that makes $1 million or the chiro office that makes $2 million, we have 3. We've been successful enough to have 3 offices that do very, very well and yield us a very comfortable income. But what I would say is this, is that if I can show up to work and we make a whole bunch of money and I can give hugs and love on people all day, that is business success. I don't have any stress on my finances and I get to love and hug on people every day. I'm happy.
I love it. Love it. So if that's business success, how do you define personal success?
Making an impact in other people's lives. I know you know this, Doc. There's kids that you saw the mom in utero, and now you know them as adults.
Oh, yeah.
Is that not bizarre? And you're like, I've been with you your whole life. In the practice, I see that. And then at home, being able to raise foundational humans that are going to contribute to society in a positive manner, it's going to carry on what I value and my principles. That's personal success to me. Yeah. The Bible says to go forth and prosper and to multiply. I got the multiply part down.
Yeah, clearly.
It's just teaching them to go forth and prosper.
Yeah. Well, when you have the opportunity to take care of generations of people in a family, just yesterday, I had a great-grandchild come into the office. After 30 plus years in practice, you've just seen the generations, grow, and they come and go. So, because people do leave the earth at some point, and it is just absolutely beautiful and fantastic. Being able to impact people's lives, I couldn't agree with you more. So I've got one last question, and I really appreciate the time that we've spent together. My question is, if somebody has heard your words, Matt, and they say, you know what, I think maybe this guy's right. I think I could become successful. What's their first step? What's the first thing you're going to tell them to do?
I'm going to tell them to sit back and look at the past 10 years. And I would like them to sit down and write themselves a letter about the successes that they've had over the past 10 years. Because what I know for a fact is that we focus on what we've lost. We focus, and you remember that. That's easy, right? The brain remembers that really fast. What did I lose? This happened to me. This happened. This happened to me. But if you have a place where you could put all of your successes, you can build off of that. This is a place where you have written down the things that you've done. I'm not saying it's for everyone to see. This is your own bragging right piece of paper. But then you have a place when the days are bad. You know what? I made it through that, and I made it through this, and I made it through that. Surely, the thing that I'm facing right now, I can make it through again. And I think that we forget to do that. And that I did at 40, actually. Speaking of, I wrote that to myself at 40, and over the time, I've been on planes and found that letter to myself, and it's given me a boost to say the things that I'm facing aren't that big in comparison to the things I'd faced in the past, and I was successful over those things.
I love that. What a beautiful self-motivating piece. I've never heard that before, but man, I'm gonna use that and personally and share that with others.
It may have cost me a whole bunch of money in therapy, so that one is free.
There you go. Dr. Matt Griswold, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to share your knowledge and your wisdom. This has been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's been great. I appreciate the time.
All right, and that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.